Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here this evening. And welcome to the Tuesday, September 6th edition of the Sebring City Council. Call this meeting to order. We'll start out with an invocation by our highly esteemed mayor, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
You got it. Please bow with me. Lord, thank you once again for a wonderful day. Thank you for the weather and the rain that you've provided. You could take away a little bit of the heat, but we can deal with that. We ask that you watch over City Council tonight, make sound and right decisions. We thank you for the residents that we have that have an interest in the city and helping us move it forward. We ask that you have a special hand tonight on Marla Bishop as she gets induced tonight. And Roland should have another young one running around. And we ask that you watch over all of our children who are coming into a world that they really don't know what they're going to get hit with, but we have to do what we can to make it better for them all around. We ask that all we do in your name, in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well,
Kathy, will you call the roll?
Mayor Shoup,
here.
Bishop, Carlisle,
Here.
Mendel,
Here.
Stewart,
Here.
Detman.
Here. I'd like to announce business from the audience. If there's anything you'd like to bring before this body this evening that is not on tonight's agenda, there are some papers on the desk right in front of me there. If you'll go ahead and pick up a paper, fill it out, and then turn it into Clerk Haley, I would appreciate it. Everyone will be given approximately 3 minutes to present whatever their comment, question, or concern may be. Also, I'd like to welcome Mike Swain here tonight, the elder of the Swain.
Very elder.
And Mike's been our city attorney here, oh my God, over 30 years, I know that much. 30
75?
Since 1975, that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty
Yeah. And his son is just as smart as him, it's just
Smarter.
he doesn't have as much hair. That's about it, right?
Except on his face.
On his face, right. So anyhow, mayor's report, sir.
Just a few things. Like I announced, Roland Bishop will have a new child tonight. Marla they're supposed to go in this morning to get induced, and they got backed up until this afternoon. So we're looking forward to that. It should be a grand event for that family. Lake Cleanup Day is September 17th, right? 2 Saturdays away. So if you all want to help clean up Lake Jackson, lake and around the peripheral, be down at Veterans Beach probably 8 o'clock. 8 a.m. they start. So, but it's Carl Kuhl organizes that and the Rotary, and do a good job. Pull a lot of. It's amazing the stuff we continue pulling out of the lake, but they do a really good job, even though it's a very clean lake. Also on the 17th, we have one of our distinguished citizens, Ada. I'm gone. You want to stand up, Ada? NAACP Gala is that night. She is going to be awarded the highest Distinguished Citizen Award for the NAACP, so congratulations.
Nice.
Give her She does a lot for the community and doesn't ask for much recognition. She asks for a lot, but not recognition of herself. But she does a great job, and thanks for all you do, Ada. We appreciate that. Last but not least, I'm sure if you read the newspaper or listened to the radio, Harder Hall sold.
Yay.
So it's a new group out of St. Pete that is looking actually into restoring the structure as it is and turning it into a high-end hotel again. So, which will be exciting. They've done this renovations before, so they've got quite a few apartments and some other things. So I think it'll be a challenge for them, but we're glad somebody's taking on that challenge. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Item number 7 on our agenda is council members' concerns, comments, and liaison reports. Let's start to my left. Mrs. Mendel.
I only have one report, and that is a shout out to our Highlands Little Theater or Highlands Lakeside or whatever it's called. Shrek was amazing. I did not think there was anything that would make me like it more than Mary Poppins, but it was absolutely amazing. And I understand from Vanessa that our little theater just won a very prestigious contest. So kudos to them.
Thank you very much.
And I do have some concerns, but I'm gonna wait till after the business.
Okay. Mr. Stewart,
I have no report.
Mr. Carlisle.
Well, as normal, the mayor steals my thunder. I was gonna talk about Harder Hall because I'm excited about Harder Hall.
Yep.
I really would like to see it going. That was one of the things when I ran, we had a board and they asked, you know, what was important to us, and Harder Hall was one of the things that I wanted to see back on the tax rolls and up and running.
Yeah.
So it, hopefully this time,
Yep,
she'll happen. So
yep, let's hope so.
beautiful place.
Maybe we can get the Blackmans in touch with Gary Puckett up in North Carolina and get some perspective on that, because he's the one that brought it pretty close to fruition until they pulled the plug last time around.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
They almost had it, but COVID got
Yep.
them.
Yep.
COVID stopped a lot of stuff.
Yep.
But, okay, thank you.
No, thank you, and I have no report. Consent agenda. On your amended agenda, you will see the addition of R, the last item on the consent agenda, which is the RFP 22-07 reject proposals and rebid. So just make sure you know that was an addition onto the consent agenda. Also, under new business, item A, termite infestation at Boys and Girls Club, that has been pulled, and we will have that on the agenda at a future date. So, with the consent agenda, I'd like to entertain, a motion to approve the consent agenda as it's published.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as proposed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments from the audience on any item A through R on the consent agenda? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Item 9, old business, being that there is none, and 10, we'll go straight to item B, which is the Heartland Firefest. Mr. Rob Bullock.
Good afternoon, evening, I guess now.
It's okay.
So I've come before you to talk a little bit about Heartland Firefest. It is an event that was put together by the Highlands Fire and EMS Foundation. I recently became a board member this last spring, and when I came onto their board, they were putting together an event that they wanted to focus on fire prevention week and fire prevention and public safety. And I just so happened to have a little bit of a history with that here in downtown Sebring with Firefest and Firematics. So we got to cranking on it and working on it, and what you see is a plan, and what we have on our application, and then of course the road closure plans. This year it will be hosted at Fireman's Field. So this way we have enough space, enough parking. We are gonna attempt a 5K with it. That will start off the morning. We worked with Sebring Police Department on coming up with a route that's gonna be the safest and most logical route and logistically common sense type route to be able to accomplish that. So basically they're gonna be running up the Sebring Parkway on the sidewalk. They'll cut down Lemon and then over to the fire department, because why have 5K regarding firefighters if you're not gonna go past the historic fire department? So they're gonna do a loop at the fire department and come back down. This is a first time event for us with the 5K, so we figured the most simple route would probably be the safest and best route to go with to start. So, not to mention it'll put the least amount of strain on any type of assistance the city might to provide us in road closures and such. Outside of that, we are gonna try to bring back Firematics. Of course, Firematics has been a little quiet the last couple of years along with other events, but we went ahead and launched that. I've communicated with several departments now. The city is attempting to put together a team I think it inspired them that y'all were the trophy winners from 2018 and they didn't want to lose that, so.
A little pressure on them?
The county is going to attempt to put together a team, and then of course our cadets that normally come from all over the state, they're working on putting together teams as well. As you know, that can be between 100 and 200 competitors on a good day, so we kind of hope for that. With that brings of course all their families, their other departments, members, and then of course the general public loves seeing them battle it out using their skills. We intend on having a touch a truck event, so we'll have numerous agencies with different type of equipment out there. Be able to let the kids go in, walk through the trucks, learn about the equipment. We'll of course have several other public safety stations open to where we can teach them, you know, the importance of fire safety, even the adults, you know, changing the batteries and smoke detectors and such. I am hoping that we can get the burn building, which has been popular in the past from the Sprinklers Association, which of course shows the importance of fire sprinklers in buildings and how that can save lives. With that, we'll have firematics, we'll have vendors, we'll have food trucks, and then of course the 5K is going to be in the morning. Not sure how many of them are going to hang out into the evening or into the afternoon, but we're hoping to wrap it up around 4 o'clock. What we're mainly asking for you guys tonight is some help with the fees, maybe another partnership like you have partnered with other events in the past. Mainly the fees that are going to be associated with the event that I bring before you tonight, this event that I brought before you tonight. That's just going to help with the 5K and shutting down the streets. The roads should be open 9:30-ish in the morning. We should be open, Bob? Yeah. Okay. So if you're looking between 7 a.m. and 9 would be the only inconvenience to travelers, and then they should be back open.
And do you have a date? Is it October 15th?
Yes, I guess that would help. It's
Well, I
October
wasn't
15th.
sure if that was a set upon date.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is October 15th, that's gonna be Fire Prevention Week as well. And then, like I said, we'll start doing registrations and such around 7 in the morning, for the 5K, and then the event in its entirety will go until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're hoping to draw around the usual 3,000 people. It could be anywhere between that 1,000 and 3,000, but as we learned with Halloween last year on the circle, we could show up with 10,000 people, you know, with marketing. Some of our marketing partners are WWOJ. They have teamed up with us to help spread the word on this. Again, the Sarah Pipel Group, they have stepped up to be a title sponsor to help make this happen as well. So of course we'd like to approach you guys to partner with us and help us with the fees. Tomorrow I meet with the CRA to work on the workshop for possible marketing assistance from them as well.
Sounds really good. Thank you for working so hard.
It does.
Not a problem.
Rob, the only estimate that I see here for city business was the police department for $405 for manpower. Do you have some other estimates on what we might want to consider waiving?
For that, I believe Highlands Fire EMS was gonna provide the ambulance
Okay.
to cover that. I know the fire guys are already gonna kind of be a part of it.
Right.
I don't know if Chief Porter was planning on.
So
getting
the only other thing you might need is
that.
barricades and things like that to break down.
Utilities.
Yeah,
Public Works.
public workshop. Okay.
So we don't know what the cost of that is, it's usually
No.
minimal.
Yeah, it's usually not all that much. I
It's a
would-
great idea. When you had it downtown, it was fun to watch. So, and there was quite a few people, so.
They had originally started with Fireman's Field when I came on board. They already had that partnership. It's a great event. It does get a little tight downtown, and especially when we have the bird building, that got a little hair raising for myself and the fire chief that year.
Yeah.
So having it in an open field is a little bit more safer if we can get that. Plus, if we're able to get a helicopter to come in, it's a little bit safer for them to land there versus downtown.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I understand. No, well, we just like to see things downtown, but, you know, sometimes we can't do that. Well, I think it's a great idea myself. So,
I'll entertain a motion.
well, I don't see anything about firematics on the
Yeah, all that's on here is the 5K event.
Yeah, so we just need to add it, I guess.
The Firematics is gonna be on the.
It's gonna be in the
fireman's
fairground.
field.
It's at Fireman's
Yeah, it's
Field.
gonna be there.
Okay.
So the cost
So
for
you
the
don't,
street.
you don't,
Okay,
you
so.
don't need our approval.
Not
for the
If we're-
5K.
if-
So
if
just for
we're-
Just for the 5K. So I make a motion that we approve the 5K event as presented, conditioned upon the event organizer providing certificate of insurance showing $1 million liability insurance covering the event with the city named as additional insurer and waiving the fees.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Yeah,
I
I'll-
second it.
We have a second
Terry
from
will
Mrs.
second it.
Mendel. Okay. Anyone from the audience like to discuss this topic?
I have a question. Is that waiver of all fees that come up on this event?
Is that your
Well,
motion?
the only
I
two.
mean, there was a PD and then there might be a public works fee. Is
Right,
that just
yeah.
waiving the fee? Okay, I just wanted to
Does the
clarify
city
that it was waiving all
incur,
fees.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify waiving all fees. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, thank you.
Kathy, okay. Anyone from the audience want to chime in on this? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right.
Item 10C, Sebring 55th Annual Arts and Crafts Festival. Larry Felder? Is Larry here?
Didn't see him come in.
I didn't see him. Have you talked to Larry, Scott, recently?
I did speak to Larry. I'm not sure why he's not here, but it is as presented as normal. So they're requesting the date, Saturday, November 5th. I can either re-agenda this for a future meeting or
Well, since it's the 55th year, maybe we should just go for it.
Yeah, I was
It
just-
hasn't changed.
It would have been on the consent agenda otherwise.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I thought he indicated that he would like to speak to council
Okay.
about it. So.
Was he asking for the waiver of fees?
Yeah. it
Yes.
is.
Okay.
It's on the motion, but yeah.
Okay, that would have to be a part of the motion. It's a little over $1,500 in fees. I entertain a motion on this topic, on this item.
I make a motion that we approve as presented, including requesting a waiver of fees, conditioned upon Highlands Art League providing a certificate of insurance showing $1 million liability insurance coverage for the event with the city named as additional insured.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion on the 55th Sebring Arts and Crafts Festival? Anyone from the audience? Kathy, it's your turn.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Next item on your agenda is item 10D. I'm opening up a public hearing. This is for resolution number 2022, increasing the non-ad valorem assessment for residential solid waste services. Mr. Swain, would you mind reading the background for us?
Sure.
You have to earn your keep tonight, you know.
Oh, I hate that.
Okay.
In order to increase the residential solid waste services from what was established a number of years ago as a maximum, you have to have a public hearing and then adopt a resolution in order to do that. The residential solid waste services, if I see that correctly, is going up, can go up from 83 cents per month or $10 a year, and go up from 190 to 200 on the residential, on the tax bill. And this allows it to be placed on the person's tax bill as opposed to being billed on a monthly basis. Any further?
No, sir. Any public comments or questions on this? This is a public hearing. Council's questions or comments or concerns?
I'd also like to just point out that the maximum that it can be set at is $240.
The maximum that it could be set at would be $240, and that would be somewhere down the road.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I guess we're,
Citizen comments.
yep. Any comments? All right, I'm gonna adjourn the public hearing. Item 10D.
No, we need to.
We need a
Oh,
motion to
sorry.
approve the resolution.
Sorry about
Did the
that.
public hearing, now we need the
Yep,
resolution.
now we need the resolution, and I'll let you read that, if you don't mind.
I'll be glad to. Resolution is number 2022-17. It's entitled "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Sebring, Florida, adopting both the current and maximum rates for non-ad valorem assessments for residential solid waste and authorizing the delivery and execution of the certificate to non-ad valorem assessment roll and providing an effective date."
Okay, there we go. Council members?
Well, everybody's got to realize, when we pass something like this, we pay it too.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, the reason we have to do this is
Yep.
because things cost, the fuel and all costs more money. So I make a motion and we approve resolution 2022-17 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Looking for a second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Stewart to approve the resolution 2022-17 as presented. Any comments from the audience? Anyone, comments on the dais? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Okay, we have another public hearing. This will be for ordinance number 1500, an applicant-initiated amendment to the official future land use map of the city of Sebring, Florida, specifically changing the future land use designation for two properties located at 2200 and 2250 Covington Road, Sebring, bearing parcel numbers S13-14-28-040, -2600-0010, and S-13-34-28, 090, 0010, and 0000, and lying in section 13, Township 34 South, Range 28 East Highlands County, Florida, from the medium-density residential, which is MDR, to high-density residential, which is HDR, and changing the future land use designation for a property located at 2034 Covington Road, bearing parcel number S-13-14-28-50-2610-0050, and lying in section 13, Township 34, South, Range 28, Highlands County, Florida, from low-density residential to high-density residential.
Nicely done.
I got it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good job.
You made it,
Yeah.
all in almost one breath.
I'm-
The introduction of the ordinance, I guess, kind of did, oh, yes, come on.
Yeah. Ms.
Ms.
Torres.
Torres, we're glad to see you this evening.
Good evening, Brenda Torres with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council, and we're here today for the second reading on ordinance 1500, as well as ordinance 1501. I'll do the presentation together as there are future land use and rezoning combined, and then you can approve or do your motion individually for each ordinance after I finish. So we are here today for a future land use map amendment from low and medium density residential to high density residential, and for a zoning change of R1 and R3 to a planned unit development to allow for 275 apartment units, a clubhouse, pool, and other amenities on 3 parcels that are subject to about 15.17 acres in size. They're located at 2034, 2200, and 2250 Covington Road. And the existing future land use, you can go to the next slide, is low density residential, which allows for 5 dwelling units per acre, and medium density residential, which allows 5 to 12 dwelling units per acre. So you can see there that it's just that smaller part that's has that low density residential. And then the proposed future land use is high density residential to allow for 10 to 40 dwelling units per acre. The existing zoning is R1 single family district and R3 multiple family district. The proposed zoning is a planned unit development. This type of development must be accompanied by a concept plan which is tied to the property, and it will only allow for the 275 apartment units, clubhouse, pool, and other amenities. So we provided a density impact analysis just showing the existing low density residential, the existing medium density residential, and the proposed high density residential. So it does allow for 427 dwelling unit change of density, but again, the planned unit development will only permit the 275 dwelling units, which comes out to 18.13 dwelling units per acre. We did a public facility service analysis. So city potable water is in close proximity to the subject area, and the city has capacity for future connections. Additional analysis and review of the facility improvements will be requested at the time of development. City wastewater is in close proximity to the subject area, and the city has capacity for future connection. Again, additional analysis will be reviewed at the time of development. The subject area will be served by a city-approved refuse collector. Additional analysis and review of the solid waste collection will be required at the time of development. Regarding transportation and traffic, we talked about that they did do initial large-scale traffic impact study, and the results are that the proposed development will generate a total daily traffic volume of 1,838 vehicles, trips, of which 139 will occur in the PM peak hours. The impacted roadway segments within a 1 mile impact of the current of the potential development will level service will continue to be with addition to the trips will be at a satisfactory level. The study intersections within 1 mile area currently operate at a satisfactory level of service and will continue to do so based on the potential of trips, and then the county traffic concurrency requirement will be satisfied. Highlands County School Board has acknowledged sufficient capacity for the proposed development of the 275 multifamily dwelling units. Full concurrency will be reviewed and issued at the time of the subdivision plating or site development review. So regarding recreation and open space, PUD does ask for a certain percentage of open space, just so that there's design is just a little bit better than just having all these apartments come up. So so the requirement is that so the applicant is proposing to provide 6.74 acres, which is 44.4% of open space, with 4.4 acres of such open space, 29 of the total development, to serve as on-site recreation area. And so this will meet the 30% open space requirement for a planned unit development. All right, next slide. This is the concept plan. There was some concerns from last meeting about the single-family residential area on the west of the property. There will be no entrance or exit on that side. Everything is going to be on the east side. This is the concept plan that they provided. You can see that they have buffering, parking, and they meet the standards of the code. We provided some renderings of the property, of what it potentially could look like, and we also have some conditions of development. So again, these are conditions for consideration, and that is a maximum of 275 dwelling units may be allowed. No buildings on the site shall exceed a height of 45 feet. All dwelling units shall have a minimum living area of 720 square feet per dwelling unit. The landscape buffer will have to be a type D buffer requirement, and we have those requirements listed on your slide. which is a minimum width of 10 feet. And the proposed development shall comply with section 26-257 of the City of Sebring's Land Development Regulations. We have provided the setback requirement as follow, which is perimeter property line 90 feet minimum, building separation 15 feet minimum, and internal drive aisles 25 minimum. The clubhouse with apartments above have a perimeter property line of 20 feet minimum and internal drive aisle of 25 minimum. Each entrance to the community shall have one single sided monument sign with a sign face no greater than 32 square feet and a height not greater than 6 feet. Sign can either be backlit or ground lit. Setbacks for the property line shall not be less than 10 feet from the visibility triangle requirement. Continuing with the conditions, again, minimum internal drive aisle shall be a minimum of 24 feet wide, and the applicant shall coordinate with the city and county on transportation prior to final development plan approval. Regarding stormwater, prior to approval of the final development plan or subdivision plat, the developer shall provide either an approved environmental resource permit exemption or an approved environmental resource permit from the Southwest Florida Water Management District. And then there should also be establishment of a developer's agreement with the city. Okay, again, this is second reading. Planning and Zoning Board did recommend this with approval, and it was approved as well on first reading. And I stand to take any questions, and the applicant's also here to take any questions or comments.
Wasn't there a question at the first reading about the traffic study that would be, let's call it concurrent, if you will, with the traffic flow coming out of Bernie Little directly across the street, to see if that would change any of the dynamics?
Yes, so that question came up, and the applicant said that he would be looking into possibly looking at what they had brought up in their traffic study and then kind of combine it with the ones for this development. But there isn't any actual data on the traffic trips since it's not complete.
Since it's not open yet, right? Who would be Jeff, maybe I can ask her, Rick, is there an authority who would actually look at that and be able to tell us if that works? I don't think you'd be this far down the road if you thought it wouldn't, but, you know, I think for the record, it's important that the general public understands that.
Jeff Kennedy for the applicant. So yes, we actually have a pre-application meeting with county staff on Thursday morning about the traffic. So we'll be working on that. And we've also communicated with the people from Bernie Little, and their traffic is a little bit different than normal traffic. Their peak hour is going to be somewhere like 3 to 4 in the morning, and then their peak PM is going to be between 2 and 4. So it doesn't coincide with the normal 5 o'clock afternoon, 8 o'clock morning traffic, the school kids. So we won't be overlapping the peak hour situation, which is traditionally the worst amount of traffic. You know, she mentioned that our PM peak hour is 130 some trips. That's only a little bit over 2 a minute, and that's 1 in, 1 out. So that's not anything that really is too exciting.
So be able to bring us up to speed then when you get to that point.
Yes, and we'll have traffic and concurrency approval from the county when shortly, we hope.
Okay. Everybody on the dais okay with that? Okay.
So, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I asked it last time about elevators, and I see you have 3 proposed apartment buildings, and I believe you did tell me there would be elevators provided?
If they are 4-story
Yes.
But anything under fourth story would not have an elevator?
4-story and up is required. 3-story is optional to the developer, but these type of large buildings, I would say yes. it
I
would.
didn't see anything on here that would indicate where an elevator would be. That's why I was wondering.
So the 3 or 4 story is part of the physical fitness program then, right?
In that open spot. Well, I just think that's, yeah, you know, we have a senior population too, and an elevator would be a good thing. I know that adds a lot of money to it, but I think it's important.
When they do their architecturals and also market study, they'll take all that into consideration. I don't think they'll want to spend this much money on something that people can't access.
Yeah.
So if you don't get enough takers under the certain age limit, you may have to think about elevators then. But they're not,
You need to think about them up front.
but they're not required by law.
Right.
Right. Folks out there, don't forget, this is a public hearing, and that's why we're having this public hearing, for your input. So if there's anything you'd like to discuss on this particular plan, on this apartment complex at the corner of Scenic Highway and Sebring Parkway, please don't be afraid to come up. Okay.
Or you have one here.
Yes, ma'am. Come on up. I don't think they're ready to give any contributions quite yet. They have to get the cash rolling first.
He's picking on you, Ada.
I'm having fun, Ada.
Ada McGowan, President, CEO of Highlands County Citizens with Voices. I'm listening to this immaculate apartments that are getting ready to be entered into our community, but I'm asking, what is the criteria for to be able to rent or lease the apartments?
Jeff Kennedy again. I would say the criteria would be you've got to be able to afford to pay the rent.
Yeah.
This isn't any kind of government funded project. It is going to be rather expensive, so the rents are going to be need to be up there in order to pay for the construction.
Would it be pets allowed?
Absolutely, yes. We have a dog park proposed.
Size pet, up to a certain, or
Probably.
you haven't figured that part in yet.
I've lived with.
Like horses?
Yeah.
Goats, pigs.
Those big pot-bellied pigs. Yeah, you might want to think about that. That wouldn't be the first time it's come across our desk here.
Our developer's Jewish, and they tend to stay away from pigs.
Oh,
He thought that was funny.
You thought that was funny.
Any other? All right, any other comments from the dais? Any comments more from the board? Any from the audience? Okay, I'm going to close this public hearing, and then we'll have Mr. Swain go ahead and read ordinance number 1500 for the second and final time.
Okay, it's, ordinance number 1500 is entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Sebring, Florida, amending the City of Sebring Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map, specifically amending the future land use designation for 2 properties totaling 14.86 acres and located at 2200 and 2250 Covington Road, Sebring, bearing parcel numbers as shown on the county tax map, and lying in section 13, township 34 south, range 28 east, Highlands County, Florida, from medium density residential to high density residential, changing the future land use designation for a property totaling 0.31 acres and located at 2034 Covington Road, Sebring, bearing parcel number as shown on the tax roll, and lying in section 13, township 34 south, range 28 east, Highlands County, Florida, from low-density residential to high-density residential, transmitting said amendment to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for notification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Second and final reading.
Okay.
I make a motion and we approve ordinance 1500 on second and final reading as presented.
Okay, have a motion, I'm looking for a
Second.
Have a motion and a second from Mr. Stewart. Anything else from the audience? Kathy, call the roll.
Carl,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. Item number 10F, is this a public hearing again? Opening up, this is a public hearing. Don't forget, this is to receive public input on an ordinance which will amend the Sebring zoning map for two parcels located at 2200, 2250 Covington Road from R3 to planned development, and one parcel located at 2034 Covington Road from R1 to planned development to allow 275 multi-family units. Ms. Torres, it's your turn again.
Yes, so the presentation I gave is the same as for this ordinance, so I
Ditto.
stand to
Yeah.
answer any questions.
I got a question.
And how is your counterpart doing, by the way? We haven't seen her since,
Yeah, she's doing good.
She's
She a healthy baby boy was born. So
Healthy baby
yeah.
boy.
Yes.
Praise God.
Yeah.
very good. Tell her congratulations
I will.
from us,
Thank
please.
you. I'll let
Thank
her
you.
know.
Mrs. Mendel?
Well, I just wondered why it's two ordinances, why it's
'Cause
split up
One to
this way.
change the future land use and one to change the zoning.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So it had to be separated out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But the presentation was combined
Right.
Yep.
because I covered both
The
items.
same thing,
Mhm.
yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public comments, please, on this proposed ordinance 1501. Hearing none. Adjourn this public hearing, and we'll go to
Second final reading.
second and final reading again. Mr. Swain, you are definitely earning your keep tonight.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
This is second and final reading of ordinance number 1501, entitled An Ordinance of the City of Sebring, Florida, changing the zoning classification, specifically amending the zoning classification for two properties totaling 14.86 acres and located at 2200 and 2250 Covington Road, Sebring, bearing parcel numbers as shown on the tax roll, and lying in section 13, township 34 south, range 28 east, Highlands County, Florida, from R3 multiple family district to PD planned development to allow for 275 multifamily dwelling units with recreational amenities, changing the zoning classification of property totaling 0.31 acres and located at 2034 Covington Road, Sebring, bearing parcel number shown on the tax roll, and lying in section 13, township 34 south, range 28 east, Highlands County, Florida, from R1 single family district to PD planned development to allow for 275 multifamily dwelling units with recreation amenities in conjunction with the others that you just talked about, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date. This is the second and final reading.
Good job. Thank you, Mike. Well, folks,
Make a
any
motion.
further comment?
Oh,
Audience? Go right ahead, sir.
I make a motion we approve ordinance 1501 on second and final reading as presented.
And I second it.
Okay, we have a second by Mrs. Mendel. Kathy, call the roll.
Carl,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes, item 10G. Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Fire engine financing options, and thank you
Yes.
for having all of that data ready for us this evening.
Good evening. During our budget workshops, it was discussed by Chief Border that the city was in need of a new fire engine. Staff instructed us to go and get rates and I did that, and I think it's in the best interest of the city that we move forward with a loan financing, and I'm asking that we go out to bid. The document or the agenda item here references an RFP. It's actually an invitation to bid that we'll need to do an ITB, and we're looking to do a non-revolving line of credit. We'll need to advertise for 2 weeks, and I would expect that we would bring back those solicitation results at the October 4th meeting and have you approve those, as well as the purchase of the fire engine that will be purchased using state contract pricing.
Okay, what's your pleasure up here?
So I do need to amend the motion to include an invitation to bid rather than a request for proposal, please.
You're not piggybacking on somebody else?
We will piggyback on the purchase of the engine, but for financing, we're gonna
okay.
Seek some
I thought we were
quotes
talking
from.
about the engine.
No, sir.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from the dais? How about from the public? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve staff recommendation to prepare and advertise an invitation to bid for a bank loan for the purchase of a Pierce Saber pumper with equipment in the amount of $762,369 as presented.
Say that fast, it don't sound like
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second from Mr. Carlisle. Any other comments? Kathy, call the roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Dutton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us about round to item 11 on our agenda, which is business from the audience. I have
Too many.
9 folks that are up here, so if you would
It's coming.
be so kind as to come forward, Mr. Dale
It's on your
Gillis.
agenda, under 12.
And I did notice, by the way, and I'm going to admit to being remiss in something along the way here. A lot of times we have some discussion about the CRA. In fact, Mr. Gillis will be up here again talking, I see his is about the CRA. This is, our board here is not the board, quite honestly. You should be bringing this information to it. Should be the board, the CRA board is autonomous. They sit, and they are the governing body for the Community Redevelopment Agency, not this, not the city council. So it's not that we don't want to hear from you, but we're not going to be passing it along except to tell you and anyone who wants to talk about the CRA that you should take it to the CRA board. One of the only functions that us elected officials have here is to approve the board members for the CRA. We're elected by the general public, and they are appointed by us. After that, they're an autonomous board, and if you think there's anything that's going wrong, there might be malfeasance, nonfeasance, misfeasance, anything illegal, unlawful, immoral, or otherwise, then you could take that to a different level. And that level, especially if you feel like something is unlawful, would be to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. That would be my suggestion. Your own city police department is not going to want to take the responsibility to investigate our CRA here in the city. We want an independent board to look at that, then that would be the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and they have special divisions that actually do that kind of work. So just so you know that, I'm not cutting you off, I'm not discouraging you. What I'm telling you is this is the wrong board. I don't want to say it's falling on deaf ears, but we're not going to take any action because we don't have any authority over the CRA board. I just hope everybody understands that. And I probably should have said that weeks ago when we started getting a lot of business from the audience coming forward on the CRA. So if I've explained it well enough, I hope I have. If I haven't, I apologize, and we'll just go from there.
Mr. Dudley? Sir?
Yes.
I have something here from the CRA master plan that talks what the city council's responsibilities are.
Right, the master plan, if I'm not mistaken, that that there are two other things, if I'm not mistaken. The determination of real property, if it is being disposed of for less than
Fair market value.
fair market value, and for the long-range plan that has to be published through the state of Florida. I mean, that's a requirement. And part of that requirement is that it comes to us and we approve it. And that's the only two other things that I can think of
Goes to the
that
code.
we have any jurisdiction over. We don't have jurisdiction. That'd be like a civil judge, if you will, hearing a criminal case, or a criminal judge hearing a civil case. Doesn't work that way. Just so you know. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, so you can appoint someone to match our money.
They need to
and
come
that's
up
the
here.
responsibility of the,
Why don't you come on up, Gus, because I can't hear what you're saying.
you know my issue, we spoke about it the other day.
Yes?
You appointed someone to run the CRA on U-boats.
Yes.
You guys got it.
We
But
do.
then you wash your hands, oh, I have no responsibility, who we put on the job.
It's not that they're trying to
No, let me
ignore
tell you
their
what happened to me.
responsibility. They don't have the authority to remove CRA members. They don't have the
Unless
authority
we fund
to
them, so that way we
punish
get them all
them.
fired.
Listen to him.
They have no authority to remove CRA members. They have no authority to punish them. They can't do that. Now, when their term is up, they don't have, they can not reappoint them. But, you know, if you're asking to do something about it today, they can't.
Let me tell you my case. Mr. Detman, 3 months ago, said, Gus, stop fighting with the CRA, go over there on a peaceful way and bring your business plans. You remember that conversation here?
Absolutely.
Okay. I
And
went
you
to
did.
Mrs. Vasquez's office 3 times. She's a public servant. She's never to be found in that office. 3 times. I'm a busy guy as anybody else. So I was upset. I never threatened anybody. I never made a scene on it. I just told her secretary there that I was upset because she was never there. 3 weeks or 2 weeks later, to Tracy, one of the board members, CRA board members, they finally gave me an appointment to bring my business plan, as agreed with Mr. Damon, to bring over to them. I went to Mr. Lydell's office with my business plans and copies for them to read it. Right? They wouldn't even open my business plan. They stole me. You know why? They called the cops on me to give me a verbal warning of not trespassing into the CRA office. That was Mr. Lydell's using his power job with the CRA because we don't like each other. Not just happy with it, on my business plan said that I will eventually in the future build a restaurant in the corner, remodel the apartments. Guess what he did? You guys got a copy of those text messages last time I came. He called the city official, Mr. Griffin, and told him I was building a kitchen already without permits. After I brought my business plan, well, I haven't even started the kitchen. I just had a permit for demolition of the place. So I think that's not the responsibility of anybody because they can govern themselves. They can have retaliation against anybody because Mr. Lydell doesn't like him. And you guys wash your hands. There's no responsibility on it. Think about it.
I think the next step would be, Gus, would be to take that before their board, which sits up here on the same dais, and explain that to them, because if that may be something that they wouldn't appreciate. I don't know that, but I would think so. If we had responsibility or authority over that, I'm sure we would do something about it, but we don't.
Now, let me tell you, in life I
But
learned
the board does. You see, that's the point. The board does.
no friends. No friends. Let me tell you, there are only 3 ways to punish a human being: physically, emotionally, and financially. The first 2 we can do it. Let's cut the funding. That's it.
Yeah.
Get rid of them because they waste our money. I have a lot of money invested in the city.
How are you doing with the project? Is the project coming along?
Yes, it's
Everything's
perfect.
going
We're
well?
almost up, ready to open the sandwich shop anytime soon.
Perfect then.
Without the help of the CRA, they don't have to give $1.2 million away to get business in the circle. So don't attack the investors. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't got a goddamn penny from them.
Yep.
They offered me for the facade of the entire building, $1,000. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. That's why it's important for you to make sure that when you have to go through those frustrations and.
But I think that the board should have some type of responsibility when you choose the CRA members.
And that's why I'm encouraging, like yourself and Dale here, to please go to that board. Because we're sitting here, you know, let me paint it this way. When I was a policeman, someone would say, I want you to arrest that guy. I don't have the authority to arrest that guy because I didn't see it happen. That's the case in most first-degree misdemeanors. I can't just go and arrest him. Would I like to? Yeah, it seems very appropriate. But by the law, I'm gonna get sued for false arrest. I can't do it. This board can't do what you would like us to do. We appreciate you coming forward and telling us, but you're gonna have to do the same thing before the board, before the CRA board.
Upon someone, think about it, all the complaints we,
Yeah?
CRA members, we live here, we have property here.
Yep.
I'm complaining about. Listen to us before you appoint somebody.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for that introduction. Good evening.
Go right ahead.
Some things I think more people should know about the CRA. In August, I brought up the subject of grants to individual condos in the Fountainhead. From 2015 to 2017, 5 grants were made to condo units there, totaling $11,277.95.
And those were facade grants?
Yes, those were classified as facade grants. So following my public comment, I emailed that information to members of the City Council. I received a reply from Mayor John Shoup. I thank him for that information and for his bothering to reply. He said the grants were mostly for doors. He pointed out that the membership of the CRA board has changed since then. Nevertheless, I'm puzzled. There were 3 separate grants to individual condo owners at the Fountainhead for $3,000 apiece. If those are for doors, those are pretty fancy doors. When I replaced the front door on my house, I believe it cost $100 for the door and about $50 to have someone install it. Anyway, that's what I was going to say about the Fountainhead. There's been controversy about the Faded Bistro, owned by the Kadzows. Most of the public seems to think they should be allowed to do what they want as long as they pay their taxes. But the public doesn't know that in 2020, the CRA gave the Faded Bistro a grant for $15,226.66. The CRA voted that grant at a meeting held on June 8, 2020. Ms. Kadzow was at that meeting to ask for the grant. The purpose of the grant was to upgrade the electrical system and install a new HVAC, which is air conditioning and ventilation. And vinyl screens were also included. So as far as I know, all the tables at the Faded Bistro were outside, so I don't know why the city is paying to install air conditioning. Maybe they have tables I don't know about. For that matter, I don't know why are Sebring's taxpayers subsidizing a private business. Could somebody explain that? And I may take that to the CRA. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let me explain that.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I had to wait for the applause. I thought it was for me, so.
Yeah, you did.
But back at that time, there was a restaurant grant that was approved by the CRA, and that was up to $75,000. A restaurant could get $75,000 if they opened a business in downtown Sebring for pretty much any purpose of that restaurant, as long as they open that restaurant. So that was a grant that was in their master plan at that time. So I believe, I'm not familiar with that grant, but I believe that would have fallen underneath at what was available at that time. I don't know in the master plan if it's still available, but that's something you could go to the CRA to find out the specifics on, so.
Well, I don't mean to argue with you. The Faded Bistro was open for several years before that, I believe.
You'd have to go to the CRA and find out their reason.
There was another business there with another owner prior to that, yes.
Correct.
Yes. Miss Brittany Fan, come on down. Downtown Sebring Circle concerns.
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm grateful to be able to share my heart. I am the founder and director of a Christian nonprofit organization called Beauty Fit for a Queen. We have the privilege of sitting on the beautiful, historic downtown Sebring Circle, where we're able to provide love and encouragement and service to our community in a way that is really special to us. I was born and raised right here in Highlands County, so I also have spent my time growing up and have very much enjoyed the family-friendly atmosphere of a downtown Sebring Circle. So tonight I stand before you because I have some great concern over the changes that I've seen recently in the downtown Sebring Circle specifically. As a community member and leaders, we have the duty to be good stewards of what God has given us. The land, the community, the children that He has entrusted us with. So recently, Councilwoman Miss Terry Mendel took a stand against burlesque and witchcraft in downtown Sebring. And I'm here today to stand with her and to encourage a family-friendly atmosphere, which Sebring is known and loved for. So one of our goals at Beauty Fit for a Queen is to protect the purity of our girls in our community. Each and every one of them have a story. We all have a story. And they're special. And we tell them that. We tell them that they're created by God and that He has a special purpose for them and that they're unique and that they are valued and they are treasured. I want to know, as community members, as a downtown community member, if we continue to bring in adult entertainment into our community, how is this going to impact the lives of our young girls in our community? With entertainment like that, we obviously know there's going to be an increase in crime, can be, unsafe and healthy, increase in disease, addictions. Sometimes girls deal with low self-esteem.
10 seconds, please.
I'm sorry?
Try to wrap it up.
How many seconds?
About 10 seconds left. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, my gracious. Okay, well, what I want to say is that between the witchcraft and the burlesque, you guys, if we're going to stand for In God We Trust, we have to stand on what the Bible says. We have to do things His way. Witchcraft, sorcery, all of that is bringing in a darkness that is going to hurt our community, and I'm concerned.
Thank you, Brittany. Tell your daddy I said hello. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Rick Little, you're number 3 on the list. This is not the sergeant's list or lieutenant's list, you're just number 3.
Yeah, I'm dry, so it doesn't matter.
Go right ahead, sir.
All right. At the last council meeting, the
No,
mayor.
introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm
everybody.
sorry. I'm Rick Little. I'm a resident of Sebring. I've lived here since 1993. I'm a sergeant at the police department. I'm also the lead negotiator for the police union. 2 weeks ago at the last meeting, the mayor made a proclamation of one of our officers retiring and said wonderful things about our officers are standing back, and we greatly appreciate that. I wanted to bring 3 officers in and introduce them, if they would stand up for me. Inspector Tommy Harrelson has been with the police department 16 years, or finishing up his 15th year. Wilma Tyndall's our SRO, and she's been serving 22 years, and Ray Rossi in the back is finishing up 16 years. They're the only 3 that we have that are on our top step. When we got a pay plan, a step plan, they were on the top step. They only get a raise when the city chooses to give them a raise throughout the city. There have been years they haven't got raises. They are also 3 of like 7 employees, and I don't know, I think it's up to 7, including the fire department, employees in a whole city that are not getting a raise that equates to inflation. The numbers I want to throw out here, they're also losing ground because inflation, we can argue that what it is, it's between 8 and 10% this year. They're getting a 6.18% raise. Over the last 5 years, they've averaged 3.4. Social Security has averaged 3.5. Last year was a 5.9, and this year, next month, it's projected to jump to 10% raise for Social Security. Our city administrator over the last 5 years has averaged 3.8% and 8.5 this year. Because of the COLA being removed from our contracts that the rest of the city employees are getting, it has affected that we've got 7 employees that are not going to get a cost, basically inflation. Everybody else in the city is getting that. And I didn't mean to single him out. I used Scott because him and I have talked about this. He's the highest paid city employee. His percentage is the worst of all the city employees. If you go further on down, the percentage goes higher. I just want people to be aware that employees are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're faces. They are losing ground. These are the people that have been here time in and time out and have not left. We've had people leave over the years and this and that. And I understand the pay plan, we have a step plan, but sometimes these people don't get raises where city employees have got raises every year. They might only get a raise every other year when we raise across the board. And I just wanted to bring these people to your attention to let you know what was going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Rick, and if I misspeak here, Mr. Nately can go ahead and correct me. I think all of that would be taken into consideration when this council meets in the shade and talk about certain other elements within your union contract that I think we had agreed upon talking about. Am I correct here?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
I just didn't know, like I said, I didn't know if you were aware that there were 7 employees that were getting less than an inflation rate raise.
Yeah. Would you make sure that Scott has all that data so
He does
that
have all that data.
he does? Okay, so then when we do meet in the shade and discuss this, then we'll have that information before us? Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant Little. James Dean. James isn't here tonight? I know, I'm just kidding. Misuse of taxpayers' money.
Of course.
Wow.
Okay, I'm James Dean of Sebring, and I plan to speak out to the silent majority who are not here, but I guess I first need to answer Mr. Detman. Regarding what the CRA does and what City Council does, I'm going to talk about the $6.3 million loan that CRA actually said they asked you to approve it. In other words, they could not get the loan themselves without your approval. So I think that's why we're talking to you, and I'm sure CRA is in the back listening. So
Okay.
we're talking to both. And now I'm going to answer your next question when you ask about who people will contact. If the people at home can get their pen and paper, here are the phone numbers. The first phone number is 866-966-7226. That is the fraud hotline of the State Attorney's Office. The second phone number is 850-717-8430. That is the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity Accountability Program. The third is very important. It is 850-717-8430. That is the Florida Commission on Ethics. Call them, they will send you the form and instructions to file an ethics complaint. I call them, they send it to me. Fourth, call 888-722-1275. That is the FBI Public Corruption Division. So that answers that question. All right. I'm reaching out to the silent majority, especially the disabled and anyone who cannot easily walk from the old bank parking lot across the street to the waterfront. Many of you, in fact, most Sebring citizens, do not have or have not seen a copy of Waterfront Plan Draft Number 1. released December 14th, 2021. City Hall or CRA has copies, I have copies. This is the plan CRA and City Council approved March 2022 that bulldozes the Civic Center, the Arts League, Magnolia House, removes all handicap parking, blocks off public driving, cuts all oak trees, turns the museums into a bar and a boutique, and moves the Historical Society across the street. And this is the waterfront plan that before inflation was expected to cost $28 million but produces no income.
10 seconds, Mr. Dean, wrap it up.
Okay. If David Liddell was a corporate executive, he would be fired for a $28 million project that produces no income. Instead, he was told by council that he had done a good job, and council unanimously approved phase 1 of the project, the $6.3 million destruction just discussed, but no construction except a sand volleyball court where the
Thank you,
Civic
Mr. Dean.
Center
Your time
was
is up.
and a grassy knoll south of that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, keep in mind, especially like this evening, we have 9 of these here. So even 9 times 3, 27 minutes, almost a half an hour extra. And that's what's typical in government, 3 minutes. So make sure that you have your presentation ready. Do a little practice with it, and then you can get all your information, because we would definitely want to hear everything. We don't want to have to cut you off. That's no fun. Mr. Mendel. CRA property leases.
Yes, sir. My name's Tom Mendel, and I believe what I'm addressing here is in line with what you were saying, Mr. Detman, about removal or disposal of property provided. The CRA in the past 3.5 years has purchased $1.2 million worth of properties. Of that $1.2 million of properties, they have 3 leases for 3 of those properties. That property value is $825,000 that they have leases on. Those leases have 0 rent for 5 years, 1 for 6 years. And at the end of that 5-year period, the leasee gets to purchase that property for $0. And and there's nothing in the agreement. After they purchase it and the property closes, there's nothing stopping them from selling that property and making a windfall profit. I think that's wrong.
Is it illegal?
I don't know if it's illegal. No, it's not illegal, sir. But you're not talking about illegal. We're talking about wrong. Why are they giving away taxpayers' money, $825,000, 0 money for leases, and they allow them to purchase that? That's wrong.
Tom, ask them.
Well, the city council, I believe, has authority over disposal of real property.
We have final approval if it's within the law. We don't have the ability to not approve it. It's an automatic approval, if I'm not mistaken, if it's legal.
Not true.
It's not true? Okay, let me help me out here. I got counsel here with us.
Well, I don't have the law sitting in front of me, but I think you can, as you have done on some of the projects, said, no, you're not gonna do that.
Because we don't particularly like it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna approve it.
Okay.
Or it's
But
not
on the other hand-
financially feasible.
Sir?
If it's not
If
financially
it's not
feasible,
financially feasible.
which we've done numerous times.
Yeah, and the purpose of the CRA is to try to help develop downtown. And one of the problems with downtown is that you don't have all flourishing businesses. And so this is an effort on their behalf to get businesses downtown who will stay downtown and improve the downtown economy.
But the lease is only for 5 years, so you're only going to guarantee that they're going to stay there for 5 years. A business person would sell that property and flip it and make a huge windfall profit.
Hopefully the person he flips it to, that'll pay that huge windfall, will continue to operate it. I mean, that's the concept.
Well, it's costing the
Whether you agree with it or
taxpayers
not,
$825,000.
that's
I
the
understand.
concept.
I think that's a misuse of funds.
Yes.
Thank you, Tom. Make sure you let your feelings known to the CRA board. That's why I opened that up by saying I apologize for not explaining those things sooner or earlier in the year. Tiffany Cadzaw, you are next. Intentions.
Good evening. Nice to see you all. I really thought that I wanted to take a few minutes and just kind of tell everybody what my intentions are for the 209 Circle Park Drive property, because I just hear a lot of rumors and I hear myself being accused of a lot of things, and sorcery is a new one, but it's okay. So basically, the CRA put out something called an RFP, a request for proposal. I found out about it. I had an idea. I entered the proposal legally, the way that I was supposed to, not expecting to be chosen necessarily, but just felt like it was something that I just wanted to give it a shot. I love that building. It's just always kind of been special to me. I've looked at it several times, thinking about it over the years, and so I entered the proposal, and my idea was chosen. I can't tell you why it was chosen. I can't tell you anything about it. All I can say is that it certainly is not as simple as just getting a free building. You have to do the work. You have to spend the money. You have to build the businesses that you said you were going to build. You have to run them for 5 years. I don't know how many of you are restaurateurs. How many of you own restaurants? How many restaurants do you own? And how long does it take before you make money at a restaurant? And what does it cost you to open a restaurant? And how many of them do not make it for 5 years? It's a lot of work. It costs a lot of money. And honestly, I'm tired of hearing it. I had an idea. I submitted a proposal. It was chosen. The company that also submitted the same building submitted a proposal. They did not offer to purchase that building. In fact, Mr. Detman, we had a meeting here because they actually protested the decision by the CRA, and you asked her to her face if she was interested in purchasing the building, and you told her that that would change things. And her answer was no. She was not interested in purchasing the building. She was interested in the same opportunity that I was given. And maybe they chose my proposal because my plan is to take that building and make it the Roanoke Hotel again, like it was built in 1917, like the plaque says on the front pillar. That was my idea. Their idea was apartments. Most of the buildings on the circle have apartments above them. Maybe they just wanted something different. An Irish pub is a restaurant, folks. It's not just a bar. It is a family-friendly restaurant. Have you been to Beef O'Brady's? Has anyone taken their kids to Beef O'Brady's? That is an Irish pub.
10 seconds.
And you know what? I think with that, I am done trying to explain myself to everybody. I am done coming here week after week, getting bashed, getting called names, being accused of outrageous things. It's an opportunity, and I took it, and I deserve it.
Thank you, Ms. Cadwell. Gustav, did you want to come up again? You get two bites at the apple? Because you're special, is that what it is? All right. He's special.
I'm glad she brought that up.
He's
I would
special.
love to know, for you guys to find out what criteria the sheriff chooses to give those buildings. Some people like them, they deserve it. I would like you guys to do a FOIA, you're a counselor, on the plumbing building, Schumacher Plumbing Building.
Okay.
On the previous way they awarded it. And after that, if you guys want to read it and take your time, you put in doubt that criteria to give those buildings away.
You would get that from the CRA office.
Right. I don't know if you read the applications.
Criteria, yeah.
Right. The applications they had for that, the first time they applied for the Schumacher building. They gave somebody from out of town, grab and go with no money. I used to be part owner of the Havana Bakery here to open a second place, fully funded by us, not asking for any money. Find out what happened there. I was really doubtful of the way that place was awarded to somebody else that forfeited later.
Look
Within
into
6
it.
months, I opened already a restaurant here, a sandwich shop.
I can't
Now,
wait
I
for
own
it.
the oldest, the youngest building in the circle. Mr. Swain said that the purpose of the CRA is to bring business to the circle.
Mm-hmm.
My building is the youngest building in the circle, 97 years old. We don't have a single program right now as we speak to preserve the historical buildings. Not even a single one. They offer me $1,000 to paint the building. Just the boom alone to maintain that paint is $1,200 a week. Thank you.
It was under stipulation in the grant, they changed it, nobody wanted it.
Cynthia Compton. Repercussions of exploiting women.
So, I had to go to the police station for some other business, and while I was standing there waiting for answers, I was looking at their brochures for family and friends. Is someone you love experiencing domestic violence? Certified Domestic Violence Center, Domestic Violence Energy Shelter, Sexual Battery, Sexual Assault Prevention Tips, Rape Recovery Programs, all in the police department.
Tom, she didn't
There's obviously a problem here.
She introduced us.
There are repercussions that come with activities. Y'all are given a lot of information. Your job is to take all these pieces and make the puzzle, to make it make sense. It's one thing to come up with a classy restaurant without a show that exploits women, that makes women disrespected. She said something that triggered a thought with me and it keeps escaping me. You create an atmosphere that disrespects women and creates an atmosphere for little girls to grow up thinking that they have to perform to get the respect, which there is none if that's what your job is, to put on a show for men, and maybe even other women nowadays. Everybody's so confused about who they are and how they're supposed to behave, when it's very clear in the Word of God how we're supposed to behave. If we're not here, and here's what it was that I was trying to remember. We are not trying, it is not the job of the community to just restore the buildings and to keep the buildings, the heritage of the buildings. Who cares? It is your job to make sure that Mr. Sebring's dream is kept alive and restored through the actions of the community. She restores that building, and the envelope is going to continue to get pushed. It's your job to stop it, because if you don't, it's going to keep getting pushed, and the next thing you know, it's going to be full TNA. And you think you got problems? Keep it to yourself. These officers that you don't want to give raises to, you're going to end up quitting because they're not going to get paid enough to deal with the crime that you set them up to deal with.
Thank you, Cynthia. Mike Zarzano. Mike, you have in your paper County Congress, NGO, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, non-government organization.
Okay.
County Congress is an organization that I have created to represent the will of the people, like our original country was designed to do. Since that time of our beginning, government has grown way too big and way too powerful at the hands of those with the most money. And that's the problem. So I'm here today to say to every one of you, I pray that God blesses you this upcoming week. with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. He says in his word, in all thy getting, get understanding. And that is my prayer for every one of you. Because I look at every one of you with the exception of two. You're elderly. You're close to that point in life when you go to sleep until the great day before God Almighty. When you, me, and everyone in this audience will stand before our Creator. I want to ask you one thing. Do you want to stand before your Creator with the actions of endorsing behavior like we have seen in this community recently? With the advocacy of the LGBTQ community, which is simply sexual perversion? And Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed not just because of homosexuality. It was also fornication. So just let it be understood that we have as a remembrance yesterday that beautiful rainbow that crisscrossed the sky. God left us that rainbow as a reminder that He will never again destroy the earth with water. But the next time He's going to do it with fire. And He says, I will return with a vengeance, taking vengeance upon them that obey not His word. Gentlemen, ladies of this commission, city council, this book has guided the men and women who have led this country for centuries. The Geneva Bible was brought over on the Mayflower. It founded our great nation. But because we have departed from it, we have left this book. We have backslidden as a people. I urge you to pay attention to this point of view. This is not radical. This is not hatred. This is the most loving act that any human being can give you. Sure, it might be harsh. It might be a little difficult to swallow. It's a big pill. I get that. I used to be a drug addict. I used to be a drug dealer. I'm of Sicilian background. I think you all know what that means.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Pass those on to Kathy for me. Thank you.
Hey, Tom, I think you got one more.
That was the last one.
No, she's bringing one up. Yeah, I think she's coming. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
That's a personal delivery.
Mercedes Munoz?
Muñiz.
Muniz?
Muñiz.
You have to put that twist in it.
Burlesque ordinance, misconduct by a public official. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mercedes Munez. I am 31 years old and I am a resident of Sebring, Florida for my entire life. I am a supporter of the Cadzows businesses and their associates for their past, present, and their future endeavors. I believe them to be powerful and strong entrepreneurial leaders in this downtown area. Now, I would like to start out with that I believe that there is misconduct and unlawful execution and incompetence by a member of our city council, Ms. Mendel. She states that she does not know procedure very frequently. She has attacked religious practices such as witchcraft, because that is a religious practice. And I would love for her to resign. Thank you. Otherwise, I would like to say that I am pleased with situations like massage, therapy, tattoo, breastfeeding mothers that have been addressed in regards to Section 14-8, our indecent exposure in commercial establishments ordinance. However, what's concerning to me is that what has not been addressed is that there is general public and patrons of commercial establishments that can be affected by this very antiquated ordinance. Okay, I have 3 articles of clothing in this bag. All 3 that are in my personal closet that if I wear, can't stay on the hanger. If I wear into a commercial establishment, myself and the owner of the business can be charged with a misdemeanor. I believe that this is a violation of my constitutional rights. I would also like to talk about what sexually explicit means, because there is a idea that burlesque is sexually explicit. Sexually explicit means displaying direct stimulation of unclothed genitalia, intercourse, masturbation, and exposed genitals of the pubic area and other sexual acts. I believe that some are confusing sexual versus sensual behavior and conduct when it comes to burlesque. Burlesque is the art of seduction and the art of tease. There is nothing sexually explicit exposed when bits of clothing and pasties are leaving the rest up to the imagination. Adult entertainment has no effect on the youth or purity of children, as children are not permitted on the premises during a burlesque show. The only disrespect shown to the performers is being done in this building by Councilwoman Mendel and other religious bigots.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Okay, wrapping that up right now. I think we're at item 12 on our agenda. This will be our city.
Regarding the lady who came from
You-
Chicago.
I don't think that's appropriate, to be perfectly honest with you. You had your 3 minutes, Mr. Dean. Thank you, though, for asking. City Attorney's business, please.
Yes, sir.
Will be the Sebring Police Officers Retirement Trust Fund
Right, in the drop program.
Deferred Retirement Option
Right.
Program.
This is the second and final reading of an ordinance. Number what?
I don't see an ordinance
Kathy,
number.
do you know what the?
You know the ordinance number on this one, Kathy? It doesn't have an ordinance. Pursuant to ordinance
don't have
number
one.
1308, as subsequently amended.
1503, ordinance number 1503, it just didn't get written.
1503.
1503.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
this would be
I'm
the
sorry.
springboard off of 1308, 1503. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
This was the second and final reading of ordinance number 1503, entitled an ordinance of the City of Sebring, Florida, further amending the City of Sebring Police Officers Retirement Trust Fund, adopted pursuant to ordinance number 1308, as subsequently amending section 28, deferred retirement option plan, providing for codification, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This will be the second and final reading.
Okay, any comments, questions? Everyone understand what this is for? This is to extend the deferred retirement option plan for police officers for 1 additional year. Everyone understand that? That's probably a good thing. I'm commenting on that. You keep your best trained and your most experienced officers on for an additional year.
Not to exceed 8 years instead of 7.
It's to make it 8 years into the drop plan instead of 7, so that's what we're extolling here. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the proposed ordinance change, which will allow an 8-year deferred retirement option program of the drop on the second and final reading as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have second. Any comments, questions, concerns from the audience? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Linda.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. City Administrator's business, anything that you need to talk to us about this evening, Scott? Mr.
No,
Nixon.
sir, but I will be reaching out to you to schedule a shade meeting here sometime in the next week.
Okay, everyone hear that? Okay, check your calendars. City Clerk's business and announcements. Bills for approval, Mrs. Haley.
Council needs to approve payment of bills, please.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Anyone not want us to pay the bills? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes.
And the last thing
yep.
I have is vacancy. This is a vacancy for the CRA board. The requirements to serve on this board is you must reside in the city limits or be engaged in a business within the city limits, or a business owner employed by a city of Sebring business full-time, which means inside the city limits of Sebring. Anyone interested can, go to the city's website, the application is there, and they need to return it to my office ASAP, because it will be filled, once we start getting applications, it can come up with this board at any time to be filled, so.
Is there a deadline?
Well, the term that goes out now will be the end of the month, so they will
Okay.
probably be wanting to fill that
So
very
the end of this
soon
month,
to-
okay.
To fill that vacancy.
Okay, so there you go. If you want to be a part of the plan, CRA's got a vacancy.
Don't forget, I have concerns before the meeting's adjourned.
Oh, okay, go right ahead then.
You ready for me? I appreciate everyone coming, and I appreciate all the different opinions. And we live in America, and each one can have their opinion. And as a city councilwoman, I listen very carefully to all sides of an issue. I've been coming to city council meetings for well over a year, and I have seen a lot of things, especially with the CRA, that have really concerned me. I've had a lot of people sending me information. I have tried very hard to figure out and get educated with how some of the things CRA does, their method of business. I haven't been able to figure it out, and I just figured I was new and somebody would explain it to me, but I really haven't had a feeling that I feel like the CRA is not doing a good job with taxpayer money. I am going to really look into it. I've had an awful lot of input in the last couple of weeks, a lot of questions, people wondering why they're not getting their questions answered. I have been going to the CRA meetings, some of them, and I'm going to try to go to as many as I can. And I'll tell you right now, even as a city councilwoman, David Lydell does not want to answer my questions. So that's a real problem. And we all saw that he refused me the courtesy and the right of a one-on-one. We all saw that publicly. And it's very difficult to go to the CRA meetings and get answers. So I'm just bringing that up because I am going to get answers one way or another. So I want this to really be solved in-house. But I believe, after a lot of thinking and a lot of input from citizens, that we have a situation where taxpayer purchased buildings are being given away in 2 instances that I know of when there were qualified buyers wanting to buy them. One was the Salvation Army. One was the Roanoke building. Ms. Cadzow said that Cynthia Hopkins.
Yeah, Dana actually told me at practice today that pretty much every time she comes.
Go Badgers.
Sorry, you were preempted.
That Cynthia Hopkins did not want to purchase the Roanoke building. I had a 2-hour conversation with her yesterday, and I had a big folder that I have in my bag here concerning Cynthia Hopkins and her business partner, and how they had proposed to pay $400,000 for the Roanoke building, and they had an amazing plan. They had the side-by-side of what they planned, and then side-by-side of what the Faded group proposed, and there was no comparison beside the Faded group is being given the building. And in the case of the Salvation Army, I was sitting in here when the gentleman, I don't have his name, I'm going to hunt it down, But when he came to protest, why was CRA bidding against him? He was an outside investor. He wanted to offer, it was around 200,000, something around there. I don't know the exact amount, but I was astonished that he was going to offer money. The CRA underbid him, got the Salvation Army, and then proceeds to try to give it away. Why are we doing that? That's wrong. And I have come to that conclusion, sadly, but I am going to follow through with it. And I thank James Dean. He gave an envelope to my husband with those numbers. And I believe I am going to call. I think that's excellent advice. I'm going to call up and see how we can get back on the rails. I don't know. We can't talk amongst ourselves. And CRA has no intention of answering my questions. They didn't when I wasn't a councilwoman, and now they won't. They are very reluctant. I think we need, at best, a restructuring of our CRA. We need to be looking at what's going on there because it's crazy. The waterfront plan was crazy. I couldn't understand that. Fortunately, that's been put on hold or whatever. I am for revitalizing the downtown area. But why would we turn away qualified buyers and scoop the building up and then turn around and give it away? That makes no sense to me. Now, I don't know of any other, those are the two I know about. Cynthia Hopkins I have a huge folder of what they proposed, and I talked to her at length, and I was horrified to hear. I was here when she was here, and I was here when the Salvation Army guy came and was treated, I didn't think well. I got up and spoke and said, why are we doing that? Why won't we vet this man? He had a restoration company. He'd done his homework. He wanted, as I remember it, to purchase Salvation Army the Salvation Army building for a high-end pizza place for his nieces. He wanted to come in and restore the building, and he wanted to pay for it. Why would the CRA underbid him, get it, and then turn around and give it away? So if these are questions you feel like you're not qualified enough to answer, or it's not in your responsibility, okay, fine. But I would like you to know that when I go to CRA, they are not going to answer my questions. I am a nice, polite person. I try to ask the question at the proper time. And still, David Lydell does not want to answer my questions. So I'm just saying, I see a problem here. We should not, I want to say it again for the newspaper, we should not be giving away taxpayer purchased buildings, giving them away for free when we have qualified buyers that are willing and have gone to a lot of trouble to make a proposal, and for some reason I don't understand, they're turned down. So after a year of trying to figure this out, I'm just declaring that I feel like it's my responsibility to get answers. So I'm just telling you that, because I don't ever get to talk to you any other time. But it's clear that this isn't right. It's not an effective use of taxpayer money. Giving buildings away, I never heard of such a thing. I'm all for revitalizing the downtown area. And deep down, in my opinion, it's getting deeper and deeper. But I do believe CRA is trying to revitalize the downtown area, but it's just not a good idea the way they're doing it. I don't understand that. So that's my statement, and I'm going to do more exploring. But I have a folder in here and a 2-hour conversation with Cynthia Hopkins that backs up everything I heard in the last year.
Who's that?
She is the lady that came and proposed buying the Roanoke building for $400,000. Yes.
Okay, I know about that one.
$400,000. And she had the bank statements showing they had the money. And why do, okay, tell me, why do you, give me education on
Help her
this.
out.
You what?
Help her out.
Yeah, please.
The lady did not want to buy the building when she came in. She wanted to get the building, and she made the proposal, and the proposal was not as good, and she was not from around here. She had no track record. She didn't offer to buy the building, as far as I know, ever. She may have said that to you afterwards, but all she wanted to do was complain because she didn't get the building for free.
That's what I remember too.
Well,
Exactly
We
what
can check the record.
I think let me
City
tell
clerk.
you
Yes.
this, because I remember this, and Cynthia, I like Cynthia. I mean, she had a lot of great ideas. She was in education. She was gonna bring a school here at one point in time. She was gonna do
Yeah.
this. She had 3 different restaurants she decided to put in there, but she didn't offer to buy the building. She had the money. She showed much more than that in the bank to rehab the building. And I think the difference was she had 400,000, and I think, if I remember, Bob and Tiffany had 140 or something in there.
It was the cost of the improvement.
Correct. It wasn't purchasing the building.
Her idea and development.
But she came to this council and protested.
I was
And-
here.
And she protested the process and what it was, and she felt like she was slighted and it wasn't right. She thought she had a better proposal. She did compare them, like you said, but I think Chief Detman had asked her at the time that if we go back and go through the proposal again, are you still interested? And she said, I'm not interested anymore. She's the one that backed out of this thing.
Right.
She wasn't gonna buy the building.
I
She was gonna make an
specifically asked
investment.
But that
back.
was after she was turned down.
Well, she
as I
protested.
understood it.
in the first
The
place.
city council offered
I will call
to
her and
redo
ask
it.
her to
She
clarify
said
that.
Look at the minutes, you can read the minutes, ask Scott to get the minutes.
Okay,
But the
all right,
second thing,
perhaps I heard that wrong, and I will call her and clarify that, but I do
I
know
told you wrong.
the Salvation Army guy,
he was, let me tell you, on that one, I don't mean to interrupt you,
Okay.
but
Please
I
do.
don't ever remember, and I asked Scott to check, because I knew this was coming up, of that guy ever coming to city council. Did you ever find anything in the old minutes about him coming to city council to protest?
yeah, I was here.
He
I
did
asked-
come,
I asked
but
Scott to
his,
look in the
he
minutes.
wouldn't go through the process. When it come time to do the process, he refused to go through the process to get the building.
But he wasn't trying to go through CRA and to get it for free.
They already had it bought before he ever got involved.
No.
Well,
But the
If-
CRA bought it. The guy came and protested, why are you CRA competing with private investors? I remember him saying that.
but he still wouldn't go through the process. After it was all done, he wouldn't go through the
But
process.
he wanted to buy it.
Well, that's up to the owner, whoever sells it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, why would CRA buy that and turn around and put it out for bid
Well-
for free
well-
when somebody wanted to?
I-
I'm just saying, that
okay,
doesn't make
well-
sense to me.
Well, the whole thing is these answers have to come from CRA, not us.
Okay, but I want to go on public record that I want them to give me the answers.
Okay.
So,
Did he send an email to you today saying that he would set appointment up?
the Salvation Army guy?
No, David Lydell. I got an email, I think we all got an email saying that they're happy to meet with you to get a hold of Christie, set a time up, and they'll meet or come to the CRA meetings.
I'm planning, I have
Well,
been
that-
coming.
There was an email sent today saying that.
Yeah.
That we all
Well,
received.
I think that's thrilling, and the question is, when I go there, the last time I went, I wanted to ask a simple question. He did not want to answer it. And I finally argued with him and said, I need you to answer this question. It was a very simple question. And they did answer it. But that shows me, he got very annoyed with me. He has never wanted to answer my questions. So I'm just saying, I want it publicly said, that I want him to answer my questions.
Okay, we heard you.
Thank you.
There's a gentleman in the back of the room he's had his finger up several times. He may have an answer, I don't know.
I can help you. I can help you. Sorry, you guys, I can't from work. My name is Tony Keshnova. I'm one of the partners in the 301. Don, my partner in the corner. We're doing the old Gilbert drugs. I keep hearing the word free building. And Don called me 2 years ago, and he said, "Hey, how would you like to have a free building?" And I said, "Well, Don, not really." But we came up with a business proposal. We're both been in business for 40 years, so we have 80 years of business behind us. I was ready to retire, and I said, "Tell me about it." "Well, there's a deal where we can get a building from Sebring if we can put the building back to standards, build a viable business, and run the business for 5 years." And I said, "What's it entail?" He goes, "Well, we got to bring it up to code," which how Greg understands what it takes to put a building up to code. And we came in, we learned our lesson. And we came in, and we didn't want any money. We said, "We'll buy the building. We have no problem with it." And the CRA says, "Well, this is how we're going to do it. We really do want local business. What are you planning to do?" So we get our proposal, and we're a mini distillery, a mini liquor, mini distillery, and a full Italian restaurant inside. And they love that. And we started, and it's been 1.5 years. Don and I personally so far have about $250,000 of our own money in it. We have another additional $250,000 to put into it. So the free building, and a lot of work, the free building, it will cost us $500,000 when we're finished of our money, our personal retirement money, in my wife's in our case. And I assume Don too, took us many years to acquire that. And our hope, not our hope, we're not doing this for a free building. It's going to give me another 5 to 7 years. I think I'll retire at maybe 65 now, maybe 67. We have children. We'd want to run it. We want to build it. The business is established, and we want it kept in the community. We've been in this community since 1992 now. We love it here. We have no intentions of just blowing it off and making a big buck, Terry. We're pretty well the way we are now, but we do have intentions of, if somebody does buy it or lease it, we have income for the rest of our lives. Our children might take it over. Our hopes are our children will take it over, or maybe some of their local. And let's say that the building's value or the business is valued at, let's say, $1 million, $1.5 million, 7, 8, 10 years from now. That's nothing but good for the community. Somebody's going to come in, buy it, and establish it. You're not going to pay $1 million, $1.5 million for a business that's not functional. So they're not free. Everybody involved in this is paying dearly to do this. And we learned our lesson greatly on what it takes to take a 70-year-old building to code. We are now about $80,000 over budget on it. We are bringing it to 2020, 2021, 22 standards at this time. As far as the Salvation Army, and I don't know the CRA that well. I know everybody there. I think they're doing a decent job. And they haven't even got off the ground. We're the first people. We're number one. So at least give us the opportunity to show you what we can do. And the thing with the pizza thing was, the reason he didn't get that is because we were in first 2 years ago with the pizza. And one of the things the CRA said they would not do is they would not buy buildings and make us compete against each other. They wanted a well-rounded a bunch of buildings. They want to have a bakery. They want to have the things in the circle where people come and spend the day. And basically that's it. Give us a chance. I mean, it's not a game to Don and I. It's an awful lot of money. I almost regretted it up until a couple months ago.
I was going to ask you, would you do it again?
I tell you, I've done it 40 years of craziness owning the business. Yes, it's a lot of fun. And like Don says, we haven't had this much fun in a long time.
And has CRA given you any money toward the?
They have helped us with the electrical, put a new service on the wall. They're going to pay for the labor to put the service on the wall. Don and I paid $7,000 for the new service. They felt that since the electric was bad in the building, they would. And this was our thing. We were willing to take all the money they were willing to give us, but I don't want to owe that. So I said, we'll buy it all. If you're willing to spend $2,500 to put it on the wall, I'm taking care of the rest of the electric. And I think our electric's $30,000, $35,000, plumbing's $25,000 or $30,000, air conditioner's almost $40,000. The sprinkler system, God, you don't even know about that. A full-blown sprinkler system in it. This building is going to be back up to standards better than it was in 1949, and we don't want to deviate from its design or anything like that. We want to make it nice. But we're number one. They call us the pioneers in this. Give us a shot. You want to fight us, and if things go wrong, we have no intentions of that.
Well, I appreciate this. I've been asking these questions for over a year, never could get a straight answer from anybody. And so I'm going to check on this with Cynthia Hopkins
Sure.
and see how that went. And, a little bit of cooperation and kindness and humility from our CRA would go a long way.
I think they get a little aggravated because they've been fought quite a bit, and there's been a lot of animosity. There's a lot of different things that have gone on around over these buildings. There's a lot of people that wanted them. There's a lot of stuff, but now it's starting to. We have an inspector that's doing everything he can. He's come aboard to help us through because we couldn't even get contractors that wanted to do it. They were so complacent to work with the city because when you ask a contractor, could you come and renovate? I'm sure Leonard would know when you come to renovate a building that's 70 years old, it's basically it's not cut and dry in the code books, and there's a lot of discretionary differences there. So it's working. It's working. It took a year and a half, and there was some fighting involved, and I have to apologize a lot to Greg back there. I did. I really took a lot out on him. A lot of the problems were misdirected to him. That was another thing. A lot of people jumped on me, telling me, "Well, it's your inspector's fault. It's the inspector's fault." And I took it for face value, your sake, and I was wrong. And I apologized to him. He met me outside, Don and I outside 3 months ago, and says, "Let's sit down. Let's make this work. Let's talk about what you have to do." And he's been there. He comes and visits. And I told him, man, I said, "We're not going to let you down." I says, "We're gonna commit to this. We're in this deep. I mean, very deep. I mean, a lot of people around here, if you've seen $500,000, it goes a long way, and that's what it's going to cost us every bit of to do."
And I'm sure that you have worked very hard, and I know restaurant business is very hard. And so I'm just trying to figure this out.
Terry, can I interrupt? The funny thing about the restaurant business, I'm a toy manufacturer. I designed toys for companies like Testers and Mattel for years. So it's a whole thing with the restaurant. Is my wife about 3 or 4 months ago, or a year ago, I'm sorry, she says to me, "I've done everything for you for 40 years to run this toy manufacturing company, and I want to do something for myself. I want a restaurant." So Pam gets a restaurant. So that's pretty much. But we have it's a family thing, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a conversation with David Lydell at one time, and I said to him, CRA just has they need to do a public relations cleanup, because a little bit of humility, kindness, good manners working with people would go a long way.
I agree.
And people do not have to convince me that David Lydell is an arrogant and rude guy.
I think,
because I see it firsthand.
Like I said a couple years ago, not knowing these people and meeting them, I think they have a lot of good intentions. Everybody on this board has good intentions. I think the key to this is
arrogant and rude to me. I'll tell you that.
Let me try
And to a lot
Terry,
of people.
I think the truth is, if we all sat at that table, and we all sat at that table and got to know each other better and got direction, eye to eye, face to face, and let all this stuff that's floating around that's not real.
It should be fixed up.
Yep.
It should be repaired.
Hang on
Anyway.
a second here. Let me go ahead and.
Am I dismissed?
We're going to have to draw this to a finality here.
I wanted
We
to
can't
say,
go on all
Tony
night.
will be here all night. So.
Mrs. Mendel, what I'm going to suggest is before you call the lady, I forget. What was
Cynthia
her-
Hopkins.
Yeah, when you call her, before you do, if you can get a copy of the record from that city council meeting that night so that you know exactly what the conversation was for the record, and then you'll know when you talk to her if there's any difference between the two, okay? Just to
Well,
make
yeah,
sure.
but I did hear her say that she didn't want to be involved with the city again. I did hear her say that.
Right, but make
Yeah.
sure that you have all the details that are in there, because you're gonna want to know, I'm sure you are, before you have that conversation, because outside of that, she could tell you almost anything.
All I want is this fixed.
Sure, but I
to know
I mean,
about
you
it.
should work off the record, and then from there, you'll know exactly whether she's being truthful and honest with you as well.
And I just want to say this, I watched the video you spoke in. This is one Tony, and the other Tony is Tony Collins. You were saying Tony this, you weren't sure if they was two different people.
No, I don't know Tony Collins.
That's what I'm saying. You said the city was
And
working.
I didn't know his name was Tony.
Yeah, okay. But you were saying in your video
No.
that
Our
there's two
city
Tonys.
clerk would like to
But
say.
anyway.
I don't know
I-
either of those people.
I just want to say something. I've sit here meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting and have heard David Lydell's name bashed. David Lydell is a good Christian man. He has a family out there. He has children out there. And David Lydell works very hard. And I personally, as an elected official, I'm going to say this, I am tired of hearing his name bashed. He goes to my church. He volunteers endless hours, not only for our community, but for our church and everywhere. And David Lydell is not the only member of the CRA board. If you are not getting information from David Lydell, then go to another board member. You know, go to somebody else. But for David Lydell's name to keep getting bashed, he used to come to these meetings. Maybe he doesn't come anymore because maybe he got tired of being the punching bag. or
I
something.
never bashed him before.
You just
Okay.
got
You
done
just
bashing. You
No,
just tore him
today.
up.
Let's
Today's
pull a
the
Tea
first
Party
time.
tape up.
You-
Let's
you
pull a
just
Tea
quite
Party
rude.
tape up.
Well, I don't
Well,
think
what?
so.
You
We'll see what bashing was.
Yes,
No,
I am
no.
just saying
A
that
whole
I
year.
Terry,
A whole
Terry, I
year
have the floor.
I've listened.
I didn't
have the
start
floor.
these.
Don't be
I
rude
have
to
the
me.
floor. I asked to speak. And I'm just sitting here saying, can we leave Mr. Lydell, if anybody wants to go to the CRA board, go to the CRA board. If you don't like David Lydell, or you're not getting in contact with David Lydell, then go to another board. But for you or anyone else to keep bashing David Lydell, he is a good, honest, Christian, hardworking man, and he's got a family, and he's got kids that watch this stuff, and he is just being slaughtered. And I'm not gonna sit
Not
there